そして君の兄さんはヨハンという名前だった。
兄さん。
Oh wow, look at this. The detail in the expression. Ooh, I love how the lighting's reflecting off of her face. It just hit her. Maybe it's better off she doesn't see this. There's no police. Didn't happen. He just clocked it. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Oh, the cake. Wow, it's a great shot. Oh my god.
生きてお願いだ。生き返って。
Oh god.
生き返ってくれ。
They haven't shown us Nina's reaction just yet. My god. Oh man. How about that?
マフラーさん、あなたの大好きなタバコだ。
Oh. Oh.
マフラーさん。
Yeah.
あの時殺したのに。
Oh.
私が殺したのに。
Him as in Johan?
ニナ。
あの時私がお兄ちゃんを殺したのに。
So he did ask. He asked for it. Kill me.
私が生き返らせてしまったんだよ。
I thought it's gonna pan to Nina's reaction. Not gonna get anything out of that.
君を連れ去りに奴が来る。
Or he might send people. He doesn't always come directly, does he? Oh shit.
警察です。通報を受けて参りました。
ちょっと失礼。中を見
Is
さ
that
せ
right?
ていただきま
Who
す。
placed that call?
これはひどい。
あなた方はご無事ですか？怪我は？
Interesting.
そうですか。ということは犯人を見てはいないんですね。
Look at this.
この平和な町であんなことが起きるなんて。
あなたどこの国の方？中国？
Yeah. I was gonna say, I'm not sure about these two guys just yet.
どこに向かっているんですか？
警察署ですよ。
でもハイデルベルク署は町の中心のはず。
我々は隣のマンハイム署から来ました。
It's real sketchy, man.
隣の署まで連れて行くんだろう。通報を受けた。通報を受けてやっ
Who
てきた。
placed that call?
一体誰の通報を受けたんだ？電話線は切られていた。警察が現場の保持もせずに第一発見者を連れ出すようなことをするものなのか。しかしあの警察手帳は本物のように。
I mean, that's doable.
血だ。まさかこの
Ah.
この男たちは。
Oh, it wasn't Johan. He sent these men to do it. That's why he was at the castle so quickly right afterwards, right? I thought maybe he might be doing it himself this time. That might be the real deal.
メスナー刑事とミュラー刑事じゃないですか。
いや、ご苦労さん。
これ
Ooh.
から署に戻られるんですか？
Interesting.
へえ、 新車じゃないですか。
どういうことだ。この子が気分が悪いというので少し外の風に。
ああ、どうぞ。
They are on a bridge.
サイレンも鳴らさずに
He's
どうすればいい。
thinking it. He's thinking it.
なぜ知ってるんです。私は名前は言ったが医者であることまでは言ってない。なぜ知っているんです。
Those looks. Go, 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 go. You gotta do it. Oh,
近くに雑貨屋があった。
almost looks like Johan there.
着替えも手に入った。ポットに温かいコーヒーも入れてもらった。
That's the essential.
食欲ないだろうけど食べなくちゃダメだ。
たくさん人が死んでた。私とお兄ちゃんは二人でそこを歩いてた。世界に
Huh.
私とお兄ちゃん二人だけみたいだった。
どこだいそこは。思い出せないかい。
国境を越えたわ。おじさんとおばさんが励ましてくれて、それから少ししておじさんとおばさんが死んじゃった。私たちに優しくしてくれる人はなぜかみんな
Oh.
死んでゆくの。でもあの日それがなぜか分かった。
Ah, okay. This should take me back.
あの雨の日
The Lieberts.
リーベルト夫妻の事件だね。
お兄ちゃんが撃ったの。お兄ちゃんがあの人たちを。
But what about the break-in?
今までの人たちもみんなお兄ちゃんが殺したのよ。
Tenma knows.
だから私は銃を取ったの。お兄ちゃんに狙いをつけたの。
He wanted it.
お兄ちゃんその時言ったわ。笑いながら言ったのよ。撃ったら銃を窓の外へ捨てろって。ちゃんと頭を撃ってって。ちゃんと撃ったのに、ちゃんと頭を狙ったのに、なんで助けたの。
That's the question he's going to be asking for most of the series, isn't he?
あなたがお兄ちゃんを助けなければパパとママは殺さ
Oh,
れずに済んだ
see, I
のよ。
spoke of this.
どうして助けたのよ。
Oh,
夕べの刑事たちはもし本物だとするとヨハンに通じている人間が警察にいるということになるが、食事をして温かいコーヒーを飲んで少し眠るんだ。人間はそうやって生きてるんだ。
yeah, that's how he's been trying to do it since.
これからのことを考えるんだ。
ほぼ同時刻に起きたハイデルベルク城での殺人も
あー
同一犯の仕業でしょうか。
ハイデルベルク城。
ああ、わざわざマンハイム署から応援
ご
苦労様。助かりますよ。メスナー刑事、ミューラー刑事。
Bit on the nose that to say it out loud, but
協力します。
本物だった。あの男たちやはり本物の警官だった。どうしたらいいんだ。
god damn.
困りますよ。無断で部屋に入られちゃう。それに連邦捜査局のあなたは
Look who it
10殺し
is.
の件で来てるんでしょう。ルンゲ警部。
Longe. Ooh, look at this. Ah, yes, yes. This is so cinematic, so cinematic. Ah, Tenma's tie.
ニナ、私だ。
No.
ニナ、
God damn it, she's
も
gone.
う隠れなくても大丈夫だ。ニナ、一人にするんじゃなかった。
This man's under so much pressure at the moment. Ah.
あなたは悪くない。あなたは医者としての仕事を全うしただけです。あなたは悪くない。サンドイッチを食べてください。
Mm.
そして少し眠ってください。あなたは生き延びてください。そして一人でも多くの人を助けてください。
Mm.
ニナ、君はこれからどうするつもりだ？もう一度あいつを殺すつもりなのか？私が彼を生き返らせてしまったんだ。私があのモンスターを
Monster. Didn't say it in Japanese.
生き返らせてしまったんだ。
Okay, so episode 7 of Monster. You know, at the end there, I felt that I kind of heard a newfound conviction in Tenma, or in his voice, right? Well, I mean, it's his internal monologue, but, you know, it's almost as if he's not at peace, but he's accepting that I saved the monster. Right? It's on me. Essentially, to me, it felt like he is taking that responsibility. He's accepting that responsibility that, you know, it is now perhaps his responsibility to take this monster out. And also, it's interesting, isn't it, that they are using the English word for monster rather than, you know, saying it in Japanese. Even though in the context of the anime, you know, they're speaking German, but it's that thing, right? Different languages, and then it being anime, and then it being a translation, the subs and all that. And of course, you know, Nina is on his mind. Of course, you know, he knows as a doctor that she's under so much stress, that she's experienced so much trauma, and, you know, just even in the span of the last 24 hours, she's been through hell and then some. My goodness. And not only did she come across her dead parents, right? Her past is also kind of rushing right back to her. That trauma, it came all out, right? She remembered every single detail for the most part. So she's been through quite a rough night, quite a rough day. And, you know, understandably, there is a bit of an emotional breakdown. There's a bit of an outburst. She lashes out a bit, right? In that state, lashes out at Dr. Tenma, you know, questions him for saving Johan, right? But of course, you know, after a bit of time has passed, she comes to kind of calm down a bit. And her rational, reasonable, empathetic side, intelligent side comes out once again, right? I think she's allowed to have a bit of a breakdown, man. Wow, poor kid. I mean, young adult at this point, but still, she's going through it. And, you know, you see that she doesn't want to be a burden to Tenma, right? She wants to kind of separate herself from him because, like she said earlier, for some reason, anyone who's been nice to us or me ends up dying or ends up dead, right? There's a trail of blood, essentially, following them. The twins, that is. And you know, she mentioned something really quite interesting that really stood out to me. She mentioned something about crossing a border. And then, of course, in terms of crossing a border, I mean, it's Germany. It's got a lot of borders. It shares a lot of borders. You immediately think of Austria and Poland, of course, Switzerland, France, Belgium, I believe, Czech Republic, and I think there's got to be a few more. I can't quite remember, but yeah, that's quite a few. So that in itself is also quite an exciting plot point that's kind of sprinkled in, right? And, you know, the whole idea of the specific time period, I'm sure it's going to come into play. And then, of course, the whole aspect of, East and West, and the wall coming down, and that initially in the first episode, they reported that the late Lieberts and their children, but of course, since then it's been revealed that they are the adoptive children, they fled or they deserted. And then, of course, speaking of the Lieberts, yeah, confirmation that indeed it is Johan who killed them. Precise headshots, much like how he tells Anna or Nina to give him a headshot. Make sure you shoot me in the head, right? And then toss the gun. As he laughed, apparently. Now, you know, that in itself is also interesting, isn't it? Is he laughing because of, because of relief? Is he laughing because he's just kind of understanding that, okay, my time was going to come. I guess this is it. And it's going to be my sister, and perhaps he's content at that moment, right? But the thing is, I think the crucial component here is that he wanted to die at that moment, right? He accepted it. He was content, right? And he wanted his sister to do it. And then you see that beyond that, he is also telling her or equipping her for the future, perhaps, trying to protect her beyond potentially killing her brother. Now, of course, as of this point, I don't believe that Johan just knew he's going to survive that. I think that potential is a bit far-fetched. So I think he actually felt that he's going to die there. But then, of course, there is a bit of a miracle, right? His savior, his guiding light, his second chance, Dr. Tenma, his newfound parent, his father figure, right? And I still firmly believe that he does not want to hurt Dr. Tenma. And I certainly don't think he wants to hurt his sister. I think he has a lot of affection for his sister, perhaps the only person that he has affection for, or had for, because, of course, since then, someone really special came into his life, Dr. Tenma, right? He gave him a second chance. He thought, okay, this is my end, perhaps. This is an intelligent kid. It's becoming clear that indeed, Tenma didn't cause any of this. This is something that this child has lived with for most of his life, from the sounds of it, right? I mean, this is precise knowledge, right? The knowledge of, just knowing that you have to give them a headshot to make sure they die, telling Nina the same thing. And of course, being able to execute such a thing at such a young age, shooting the Lieberts in the head, both of them. There's also a possibility that maybe he shot them by design because he wanted Anna or Nina to turn on him, right? Maybe he was hoping for all of this. Maybe he was kind of hoping that this is the end of the line, perhaps. Now, of course, I'm saying end of the line, but the thing is, I don't know about the things that came before. And now it's beginning to feel like there's so much that came before in terms of Johan being the way he is. The way he told his sister to execute this, make sure you shoot me in the head, make sure you toss it. To me, it felt like it's something he himself was taught at some point, and now he's kind of, relaying it to his sister. So yeah. But yeah, going back to Anna, I think I'll stick with Anna. Yeah, you see that for a good portion of it, she kind of goes back into that coping mechanism, doesn't she, of shutting down. She just shuts down and is in that state for quite a bit of it once they do come across the 3 dead bodies. And oh my goodness, the filmmaking on display, the camera work on display, right? Us, the audience, essentially knows at that point that on the other side of that door, there's going to be dead bodies, most likely. But still, the lead up to it and the big revelation, masterful. And honestly, I think this anime, or at least, a lot of this episode really stood out to me in terms of animation, right? Leading up to this, before I came into this, at no point did anyone ever, compliment it on being some kind of, showcase of animation, right? The thing I've noticed is it's a really grounded and functional approach. It is. But I've noticed that, the framing and the composition and the techniques on display, some of the angles being used, right? Some of the dramatic camera movements being used, it is really quite cinematic. That is so my cup of tea. It really is. So, I don't care if it's not flashy animation. It fits the bill. It fits this style of story. The beating heart in the corridor, as you see it from Tenma's perspective, right? Shaky camera from his perspective. Then once he does go in, there's almost like a professional snapshot type approach, right? Snapshots that you might see the police take once they do make it on scene, right? The scene of the crime. And then the big reveal, overhead shot the entire scene and the 3 dead bodies. But wow, I thought that was masterful. The whole revelation, even though us audience pretty much knew, like 99% sure that, yeah, they're dead in there, it still somehow managed to make it really quite impactful, engaging, suspenseful. Oof, the suspense is just top notch in this. Another really good example of that is Dr. Tenma's sustained state of uncertainty as he's trying to figure out, are these real cops? Who are they? Right? And then he'll get to a conclusion, right? He'll kind of gather enough information to kind of form a conclusion, and then all of a sudden it gets flipped on its head because something new comes to the forefront, and then he has to look at the situation all over again from square one. I love that. And I'm speaking of, the 2 cops, and of course, in their state of shock, they kind of miss some of the really clear clues that these are not normal cops, right? The cops themselves are so laissez-faire or nonchalant, aren't they, about the scene itself? At one point, the one guy's just like, oh, okay, that's terrible, right? Because it appears that they are the ones who killed these people in the first place, right? The bloodstains on the jacket, them showing up at the precise moment, right? They knew to be there, right? 2 possibilities here. Either they're just kind of around the corner, just, until Tenma and Nina potentially show up again, and then they come in, or of course, Johan tipped them off once again, right? Clearly, they're in cahoots. And you see that in this episode, perhaps some of the naive, absolute belief in the system that Tenma does seem to have, you see it's tested. It's beginning to have some cracks, because you see a few times he actually slips up, I think. He goes straight to that spot full of people, and those 2 cops show up again, right? He slips up. I think he kind of sticks out like a sore thumb in that crowd, doesn't he? And they even talk about, oh, there's a suspicious Japanese guy apparently, and he's there in the crowd. So, sooner or later, that aspect is going to come into play. He is going to be noticed. I was kind of surprised he wasn't noticed now in that crowd, right? As he is trying to get to the front. I really feel like Johan's looming presence is so thick, kind of built into the atmosphere of the entire story, of the entire anime. You feel it at all times. And, I think his apparent influence goes far beyond and is far greater than I initially even thought. My goodness, this is a different type of beast. Again, the concept of him being this master manipulator is on display again. But yeah, this is a much larger thing than I initially thought, right? His reach, his influence, his tactics, be it bribes, fear, social engineering. He knows these people clearly. He understands. He knows how to get them going. He knows how to use them. He knows how to use them against themselves, essentially, right? Like I said earlier, he's a master at making others do the things that need to be done. So, for that reason, it makes it really quite intriguing and exciting that, of course, he's got something going on here for Tenma and Nina as well, right? He's got them on a journey as well, right? That being said, like I said earlier, I don't think he wants to hurt either one of them, but he does have something in mind for them, right? Lunge came in, and of course, great cameo to have him. And of course, as expected, he almost immediately finds something, and he finds the tie. Now, the thing is, Johan removed the tie from the other guy who he killed, and he tossed it. But of course, he tossed it in a manner so someone can find it, right? Hell, does he even know about Lunge or Lunge? Does he know about him already as well? Johan, that is. I think he must. I think he must have some idea about this other person that's on the case, right? Lunge. So there you also have that potential cat and mouse chase I mentioned a few episodes ago, right? That one as well, Lunge and Johan. Ooh, exciting prospect, isn't it? But of course, I think it's left there by design by Johan, so Lunge can find it, and that kind of brings it back to Dr. Tenma again. And of course, Nina's gone now. She's kind of out of the picture at the moment. So Tenma is by himself again, lone wolf, right? I think by the end of this episode, that conviction in his voice, I felt that he understands that he's going to have to go do this by himself, right? Again, after kind of having this eye-opening experience, bit of a wake-up call about the system, and that, it's full of corrupt people as well. So that paranoia really is beginning to build. I just love how they kind of give us the big reveal as well, because of course, me as an audience member, I didn't actually think they're actual cops at first, right? I was just suspicious of them right from the beginning as outsiders. They're just kind of pretending to be cops, right? And then of course, they've been tipped off and they're there at the right time. But that begs a question. Okay, so once they had Tenma and Nina, are they supposed to kill them? I don't know. I don't think Johan wants that though, right? Listen, this could be me overthinking it, but maybe Johan thought that Tenma is going to clock it. He is going to be able to get out of this somehow. I don't know. Maybe that's a bit too much. But yeah, I love that scene. Ultimately leading up to them actually being cops. Maybe, the big reveal itself is a bit on the nose, right? As the one guy is like, nice, it's great to have your help. Detective da-da-da, detective da-da-da. Let me say it out loud, right? It's so Tenma can hear it. But yeah, I thought it's a great build-up and payoff to having them just be corrupt cops, right? On the payroll, on Johan's payroll, essentially. Though, of course, I doubt it's a direct connection. I'm sure Johan had another intermediary kind of, facilitate that deal, perhaps, that bribe, surely. And that thing about them walking among dead bodies, a sea of dead bodies, and it feeling like they're the last two remaining people alive on the earth, that in itself also kind of makes me think that, Johan is really quite protective of Anna, of Nina. Like I said earlier, I think he does have a lot of affection for his sibling, right? His family. That's his family. Though, of course, there is that aspect of Tenma being found family, right? Spiritual father. But yeah, it is possible that everything that he's done is to protect Anna, his sister. I mean, that being said, that's just one aspect of it. This enigma that is Johan Liebert, of course. Yeah, there's so much I need to know about this person. So much more I need to learn, and yeah, it's going to be so exciting. I could just tell, piece by piece. I think having headphones for this has been such a fantastic experience, right? The audio mix is really top notch, top tier stuff, right? Really, really quite engaging, and stress inducing. It's a major component of the atmosphere this anime is able to create. The sound design, the sound mixing. Oof. Good stuff, man, good stuff. So if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in the next few episodes right now through early access or perhaps even timer-based full length, consider checking out the Patreon page. The links are in the description and the pinned comment. Also links to social media, Instagram, Twitter, if that's your thing. I'm usually a bit more active on Twitter. Yeah, you can just support the channel by dropping a follow on Twitter. Kind of help me expand the reach as a content creator, right? And that potentially brings in more opportunities. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, folks. And thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for episode 8. Until then, take it easy.